If you clicked on this video, it's because you want to remove yourself from the certified laughingstock of a rank that is Platinum. I don't know how many minutes it'll take to cover this abomination, but lucky for you, you're not in pre-production mode. You're in consumption mode, and the product is ready for spoon feeding, so let's find out what it takes. Don't get me wrong, there are some very skillful Platinums out there, but the scene has changed. We are almost 10 years into this game, and we've found the skill ceiling is incredibly huge. The question we need to start asking is, what have other Platinums done to get into Diamond? As a former Platinum and recent visitor, my answer would be this. Find joy in the game during the hard times and failures. Take each little annoying moment from this game, any moment that's ever made you feel any sort of negativity, and throw it away. I understand this game can be infuriating, especially due to the player base, but having the mental to just tank through hard games and learn from the specific reasons as to why you lost will only ever benefit your playstyle. Turning off chat also helps. I say this every video, but if you're not watching someone else better than you, it's going to be a lot harder to practice worthwhile techniques. And I don't exactly mean advanced mechanics when I say this. More than anything, I want you to pay attention to their positioning and rotations. I'll throw a couple users on screen that I would recommend watching who I believe have this in their playstyle. You want to aim for live streams or any sort of road to SSL series that were successful, and then try to mimic the way they play in terms of their placement and rotations, and understand that it's about building muscle memory for some of these moves. Let's take a flip reset for example. Learning this is not going to take you to Diamond. It could actually in turn hurt your performance. The reason for that is because it's a very training intensive move to pull off, and if you've never hit one, it will take a while to get consistent with. If you spend too much time worrying about that, you're going to forget about all of your other fundamentals like getting the ball to the net, defending, rotations, and then you'll end up a Platinum who can flip reset. How does that sound? At this point, your next move should be to hit free play anytime you open the game. Going straight to ranked might sound fun in the moment, but fun quickly fades to a losing streak, and then ultimately your momentum is trashed for the entire session. I say this from experience. I would also vouch that my drive for free play and ones is the only reason I've ever set foot in Diamond. Just make sure you're actually practicing fundamental things like dribbles, flicks. You don't need the flashy to get out of this rank, and I mean that. I'm not saying advanced aerial mechanics aren't useful, but as the saying goes, don't run before you can walk. At this rank, you should also start to get familiar with what it feels like to play off the wall and in corners, but keep these things in mind. Aerial plays are sometimes high risk, low reward, especially in ones, so it's best to keep to the ground unless you really know what you're doing. As for the corners, your corners are one of the safest places for that ball to be. This is because there's really only two options from that corner. Pop it up and aerial into the net, or drive it across the net to the opposite corner in a boost starve attempt, which, if gone long enough, will usually work. If you're aware of these two things all the time, it creates the notion of a corner safety based on the odds that you're not playing a freestyler. A big reason I see people losing is off of these corner challenges where they go in for it and just whiff. Practice hitting the ball around in corners and off the walls to get a better feel for how to either use this as an opportunity to attack or at least shut down your opponent and get some breathing room. We should also briefly discuss settings. On screen, I'll have my current settings that I find are best for me, but I do feel the need to add that I'm also still on default settings. I've played this game the first month it came out and continued on and off up until about last year or so where I've really picked it up. And I personally feel that at this stage of the game, it would be far too difficult for me to switch to a more popular set of bindings, which in this case, directional air roll left on square or X, depending on if you're on PlayStation or Xbox, and directional air roll right on circle or B, which would move boost to a bumper. And if you don't know the difference between normal air roll and directional air roll, the normal one is just the default bound to the left trigger one that exists when you open up the game, and the directionals let you air roll left or right at the press of a button instead of two button presses consisting of left trigger and left stick tilt. With settings out of the way, and assuming you've chosen your forever bindings, we can talk about the closing of what it takes to leave this rank behind, and it consists of some key takeaways that should be the foundation of your progress from here on out. Ask yourself this question from a random doubles queue perspective. Am I good at rotating? Can I pass the ball? Can I set my teammate up for a goal? If you're not in the twos mindset, ask yourself the first question again. Are you good at rotations? I see so many people still slamming into the ball aimlessly. Get yourself to the right spot before you think about just charging the ball. Add some purpose to your hits and be smart about where the ball ends up next. Anticipate opponents and get yourself into the spot you think you can be in that allows you to create a chance for a goal. If one does not exist, you should most likely be rotating to your back post and letting the ball come to you. Your ability to adapt to both your opponent's and teammates' playstyle will ultimately define where you end up. Be defensive when you queue with an offensive teammate. Attack more often when you queue with someone who stays back. Think about these concepts actively when playing, and I guarantee you will notice a difference. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop those below, and I'd be happy to answer those. But other than that, enjoy your road to progression.